Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. And today on Dawn Busters, because daylight is kind of creeping in, we have two Kentucky bourbon, I keep saying that, Kentucky rye whiskeys, okay? Bourbon is mostly corn. These are mostly rye, although they may contain lots of corn. So Winchester Kentucky Rye Whiskey, introduced in 2019 from OZ Tyler Distillery. There's no website listing for it. I bought it at Total Wine and More. I think I have seen it at other stores though. It's only aged 1 year. It's got the rubber stopper, neoprene synthetic rubber stopper. This was $19.99 at Total Wine and More. Don't know if they still carry it. I could check and find out. It says since 1866. Maybe that was when the Winchester gun was introduced. Okay, Beam Rye, introduced in 2024. Was this the old Beam Rye that they brought back? This is hard to say. It seems that way, but I can't definitively say that. I have a white cap and bottleneck on here, but the website shows a green cap and bottle. Shroud or whatever that's called. Jacket, neck jacket. Okay, and it's made out of metal, not paper. These with 80 proof. The Winchester's aged only 1 year. The Jim Beam Rye's aged at least 4 years. We know that because it's got no age statement. I want to see if Total Wine and More still carries that. Winchester Jim Beam Rye. Bold taste, spicy flavor, classic. Our old school Jim Beam Rye recipe is marked by warm notes, a spicy kick. Okay, so, and it says it's a flavor that's sure to take you back. Back to what? When they used to make the old Jim Beam Rye up till from 1938 to 2015? This has got me thinking that's what they're talking about, but they're only alluding to it. Come on. Come on, come on. Let's not play this game. Okay, so this was $13.99 or $13.49. Then it went down to $11.99, but that might have been only a special price because it's back to $13.49. But that's very inexpensive for straight whiskey of any type. So guess you could call it a brand. It has a very, very nice flavor nonetheless. And then they got this animated section here. Makes it look nice. But then see, the animated section shows the white cap, whereas the photo shows the green. So I don't know the explanation on that or for that. Total Wine and More. Let's see. Winchester Rye. I might make a Winchester bourbon. Not available at my local store. There you go. 50 milliliter bottles. Okay, they're only showing 50 milliliter bottles. Well, it looks like that's phasing out. I mean, that ain't my problem. Or anyone's problem. Oh, yeah, okay, so there's a Winchester bourbon from the same company, obviously. And there's Winchester Extra Smooth Bourbon, Winchester Straight Bourbon, big handle bottle. Okay, Winchester Single Barrel 12 year. Interesting. Interesting. Well, I'll probably never buy it because I've got 19 unopened bottles of bourbon at this time. And I think that could literally last a lifetime at this rate. Daylight. Yeah, well, I think I'm gonna have to turn the lamps on because I don't think daylight's in a hurry to get here. I say dawn busters, but like dawn is staying away. All right, let me see if I can get this straight over here because the cat has this fixation on knocking over this wood piece of wood here. I have to keep stacking it straight. All right. Anyway, so turn on this lamp. This is not called straight rye because it is only aged 1 year. Straight rye whiskey must be aged at least 2 years in new charred oak barrels. But just for regular rye, it can be aged 1 year. Now, this is a company that uses this Terra Pure method, where like expedited aging. I'm not saying that they expedited the aging on this with that super high pressure equipment they have, because a distillery was started by a scientist. He has died. He died not long after he started the distillery, unfortunately, but sad to say, but they don't have a website listing for it. Sorry. All right, Jim Beam Rye, aged at least 2 years. It's listed, and we know it's at least 4 years because it's got no age statement. So it's straight rye. Now, straight rye whiskey cannot have any coloring or flavoring added. But on the other hand, rye whiskey, if it just says rye whiskey, it is allowed to have coloring and flavoring up to a certain amount. So it has to be natural flavors. So could this have flavoring in it and coloring to make it darker? It could, and they're not required to list it. If you read the regulations, they're not required to list it. So they're both golden amber. I don't know which is which already. I've got them mixed up, and I don't know which is which. One is a little cloudy. Little cloudy. This camera has a little trouble focusing sometimes. Yeah, a little mintiness, a little rye, not a whole lot happening on the nose. You want to come up here because I know that's what you like to do. Yeah, same. The nose on both of these is sort of low on aromatics. Not a bad aroma, just not much happening. Come up here, see. I can try to do this, okay? Without being so interrupted. Mintiness, grain, other grain, rye, and maybe corn. Don't know about wheat, don't know about malted barley. They don't list the ingredients, so we don't know what we just know it's at least 51 rye. Everything else is a question. Rye, maybe not as much sweet corn, more rye spice. So I'm thinking this is the Jim Beam because it got more flavor. Now, I know without even trying to identify them at this point, I know that I would buy the Jim Beam Rye every day of the week over the Winchester because it's $6.50 cheaper. It's aged at least 3 years longer, right? So it's aged at least 3 years longer, and it's $6.50 cheaper. That wins the battle right there. And what I'm tasting is not that different. They're different, but minimally different. Not really too different. Got to give the win to Jim Beam Rye. Now, I mean, I'm not paying $6.50 more for some whiskey that may or may not be better, you know. Just ain't happening. Okay. Give it one more taste. I think it's the Winchester. It's got that little weird candy taste. Actually, I think the Jim Beam is a little better in taste. Yep, that's the Jim Beam Rye. So, Winchester, you're paying almost $20. It's good. Give it a B. You know, I think in the original review I gave it an A, but sometimes these grades change. But if you keep sipping on them and they get air and the oxygen affiliates with the product. So I'll give it like a B, 8.5. This one I would give an A. About a 9.3. So I'm saying they're not that different, right? Initially I'm saying that, but then I'll keep sipping it. Instead of Jim Beam is really coming out ahead like by 8 points. That's a bit pretty, 8 percentage points, pretty big, right? So you get an 8 percentage point better product at the time of this tasting. These things can fluctuate too. And you save them $6.50. So I think there's no question Jim Beam Rye is the clear and present winner. And I'm very pleased with it. And I would highly recommend it. And that's it. So I have another Kentucky Rye, at least one more. It's called Sazerac Rye, and it's from the Sazerac Company. And it's aged about 6 years. They don't give an official age statement, but they told me, yeah, it's about 6 years. And they did literally tell me that on the phone. Just like, no, it might have been, they told me that about Buffalo Trace, that it's aged about 6 years, but it might have been something else. But I think I better not discuss that because we don't know, but probably about 6 years. So Sazerac Rye is a little controversial because I see a lot of viewers, not a lot of viewers, I see a lot of reviewers talking about, well, I live in Connecticut and I couldn't find it. And then somebody tracked it down for me. It was $50 and I really love it and everything. And I'm like, $50. It always boggles my mind because in Louisiana, Sazerac Rye is always like $19.99 at every store. And you go to a bad store, it's $20.99, you know, $19.99, and they'll run sales $18.99. So Sazerac Rye is definitely not an expensive product here. And in fact, it's usually less than $20. So why do people have to pay so much out of Louisiana? I don't know. And I guess if you go to Texas or Mississippi or Alabama, it's probably cheap there too because they're close to the headquarters. But the headquarters of Trace / Sazerac Company is in New Orleans, and I've been to their interactive museum, the Sazerac House. But the upper floors are the offices. You know, they don't let you go up there. There's no need to. But there's also a Sazerac Rye 100 proof, which I'm not interested in. And I think they have some other ones that are hard to find. But anyway, I can get the 100 proof right here at Mathern's, but I'm just not interested in it. But they have some variants that are extremely hard to find. But that's coming up. That's the plan to come up next, another Kentucky Rye. And then I have to look around and see, do I have any other Kentucky Ryes that I overlooked? That I'm trying to think, and I can't remember. I think I covered it, but I got to double check. And then I've got the Tennessee Rye from Jack Daniels, also sadly discontinued last year with no explanation, probably poor sales. Why else would they discontinue it? Because they're not going to discontinue it because it's a hot item, right? Strange. And then I have Canadian Rye whiskeys, from Alberta. I've got the Crown Royal Rye. It's called Northern Harvest Rye, which is awesome. No way Jim Beam don't stand a chance against that one. But now we're talking about like $40 bottle, not $13.49. And I even have a Scottish rye whiskey, and it's called Johnny Walker High Rye. And my friend David was saying, well, why would they do that? It's not a true Scotch whiskey. You know, it's a rye whiskey. I said, well, anything that is a true Scotch whiskey is made in Scotland, right? Because made in Scotland is Scotch. Doesn't have to follow the traditional methods. I mean, it's 60% rye. Well, that's allowed. And it's a blend. It's got rye, single malt, probably corn, something, but it's still a blended whiskey. It's just mostly rye, so it's 60%. So it's a rye whiskey. It's high rye. It's unusual. Certainly not like any other Scotch you ever wanted to try. It's not intended to be like all the rest. I think that's probably not helping the sales because people see it and they pass on it. They're like, oh, that's going to taste strange. You know how people are. It tastes weird. I noticed most stores trying to sell it for about $40. Walmart over here, for some reason, got it for $20.27. That's an odd way to put the price, right? $20.27. Like, yeah, when I bought it was $19.99. Then it went up 28 cents. But they've got so much of it over there. If you go to Walmart right here, half a mile away, man, they got it must be 24 bottles, 2 cases of it. Johnny Walker High Rye. And it never seems that it looks like it never changes. Like, I think some of the bottles got dust on them, you know, it doesn't move. And usually Walmart will just kill a product if it doesn't move, but they might have an agreement with Johnny Walker where they got to keep it on the shelf a certain amount of time. But to have it that cheap right there is a sign something's not right. Like the sales are not right. But I think once they hit that deadline that they can start getting rid of it, they'll probably sell it for $5 a bottle, really. Because Walmart, when they get ready to get rid of something, they get rid of it. They just push it. Now, I noticed the Ezra Brooks Bourbon Cream, wonderful product. Is it competitive against Buffalo Trace Bourbon Cream? Yes, it is. Certainly is. Maybe it's not better, but it's probably just as good. But when that thing first hit the market, this new 33 proof, because it used to be like 25 proof. But oh man, they really were pushing that, and it was like $30-something a bottle. I said, no, there's no way I'm paying over $30 a bottle for Ezra Brooks Bourbon Cream. Then the price started dropping. Then it was down to like $13, and that's when I bought it. And now they're selling it for $9.50. I went back and bought another bottle. It was just as good, but $9.50, down from like 30-something. What's that telling you? You know what it's telling you. The sales are. And I noticed and I'm about to get off of this. I noticed a local store. Come on, crybaby. I noticed a local store had Kahlua. You know, Kahlua out. They had the chocolate sips and the chocolate vanilla sips or whatever. I'm sure it's really good, you know, Kahlua coffee and all the chocolate and cream and all. But they had it for $27.99. I'm like, nah, that's the reason I never bought Bailey's, because I'm not paying $27 for Bailey's when it's just grain neutral spirits, a little bit of Irish whiskey, and sugar and cream and all that. And it tastes good. You know, I'm sure it tastes good. I've had some Bailey's variants and they were wonderful. But I got them on super discount. But that's the same reason I didn't buy the Kahlua. I wasn't paying $27.99 for this. But now I noticed the local store has it for $14.99. Dropped to $13. Like overnight, boom. They got it in the discount basket. Dropped each bottle $13. Why? Nobody was buying it for $14.99. You see how it works? There becomes a point where people just don't buy it. And then there was a controversy about the Seagram 7 Crown apple. You check online, most liquor stores got it for $18, $18, $19, maybe $17 if you're lucky. But this local store here had it for $3.99 a bottle, a huge basket full, $3.99. And they did that like 2 years ago. And I said, oh no, they're cutting this product. They're discontinuing it. And a friend of mine, he bought a bunch of bottles to give to people and drink some of it. He was like, man, this stuff is great. It's great. And I agree. It's really a well-made product. Same people that make Crown Royal apple, which I've actually never tried. But he told me yesterday, I saw him yesterday. He said, man, that stuff wasn't discontinued. My son did research on that. I said, it's not. I said, it looked like it is because when you get on their website, it doesn't link you to it. You have to go through a back door to get to it. He said, no, they're keeping it. I said, well, why would they sell it for $3.99? You know, it's like very mysterious. Anyway, enough of that. 2 rye whiskeys, 1 straight, 1 just regular. Maybe it has flavoring and coloring added. I can't say it does, can't say it doesn't. You know, they don't have to disclose that. You get any whiskey in America that says blended whiskey, it may have coloring and flavoring added, and they do not have to put it on the bottle. If you get a rye whiskey and it doesn't say straight, might have now you say, oh, I don't care if it's got coloring and flavoring, or if it tastes good, that's what matters to me. I understand that. If you get a blend of straight bourbons, there's a product called a blend of straight bourbons. It is possibly colored and flavored because that's allowed. Not straight bourbon, illegal. But if you make a blend of straight bourbons, then it's legal. You say, well, like, why do they have that rule? What's the point of the rule? This is the question I keep having. What is the point of the rule? I don't know. It doesn't seem to make sense. Okay, come on. Ah. She wants to play. All right, well, I got to go, y'all. I'm going to walk. I have to walk a mile. Keep exercising. Somebody asked me, how come you drink all this beer? You don't have a beer belly. I said, because I walk every day, exercise, and eat a lot. I mean, I'm hungry. I eat lunch. I'm going to have spaghetti today, but I don't eating all the time. Snack, and people just vociferous on snacks. And that's how I lost weight. I lost 30 something pounds, close to 40 pounds actually, by cutting out snacks. That was really adding weight. If I would sit down to read a book, I'd be snacking. And I was like, no, that's putting on pounds. And women started telling me, you're getting a big belly. I didn't care if men said it, but women were like, look at that belly. I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I used to not be able to button my top button on my shirt. It was like, ugh. You see pictures of me from 2001, big fat face. I was like, nah, man. And I invented my own diet, and it worked. And it's been 24 years since I started that, and I lost, like I say, 40 pounds. Cardio is key for me too, says Liquor Enthusiast. Yeah, I check my blood pressure once a week. I checked this Sunday while I was watching the Saints game. He said, I'll make your blood pressure go up. Yeah, I could if you're worried about it. I used to, I don't now. But it was 113/71, I think. 113/71, which they say is good. So say la vie, All right. You are a very demanding kitten, but aren't all cats demanding in that, kind of like your personality trait? I should have left you at the car wash, rescued from the car wash. Not in, somebody said you went inside the car wash, the tunnel where your car goes through. I said, no, she wasn't inside there, but the people at the car wash found her alone or something, and they wanted me to take her, which may have been a mistake. I walk every day in the morning at my local park, weather permitting. Yeah, today we got rain coming again. It rained all most of the night, so I better get rolling. All right, thanks everybody. Y'all take care now. And remember, the next one coming up is Jim Beam Rye versus Sazerac Rye. And I think Sazerac's going to win that one. I hear you. I'm about to, she's crying by the door. Look, about to open the door. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.